Hello, twisted humans.
Do you find yourself wanting to know more about the latest murder, conspiracy, cult, or haunting?
Then this is the podcast for you. I'm Alicia.
And I'm Sierra, and this is Twisted and Uncorked. I hope you can see my clap, because I clapped with gloves on.
That's okay.
My thumb is out, though, because...
Yeah, tell me why. Tell
my
the people
phone.
why.
I can't... My fun fact is on my phone, and I can't move it.
I was like, is
With
this a Cruella style?
No. Also, the voice. I got really into character and started smoking again. Just kidding. I don't know what's wrong with my voice, guys.
Yeah, this is a little bit of a slap-happy intro to a second part to our super sad serial killer, as per usual. But it's spooky season, week number 2. And we are Disney villains. So if you are not subscribed on YouTube, go check that out. Or go follow us on social media for some photos and some fun. If it wasn't obvious, Sierra is Cruella DeVille, and I am the Queen of Hearts. I'm not going to cut off anyone's heads today, though.
Not today.
Not today. Maybe tomorrow. I might be playing some cricket with some flamingos. We'll see.
Yeah.
Your costume is amazing, though.
Thanks. I love it. So is yours. My favorite is the collar. Love it so much.
Thank you. We get crafty, guys, so you got to enjoy it, okay?
Yeah.
And we got 2 more fun ones for you. But before then, let's dive into this episode. Do you have a fun fact for me?
I do. And I'm going to use my thumb that's hanging out to find it.
I like
this is less of a fun fact and more of a fun theory.
Okay.
But I mean, all science is theory, so...
True enough.
There are, obviously, many different reasons why people theorize we hiccup.
Oh.
No one actually knows why we hiccup. They're all theories. No one actually knows how to solve the hiccups. It's all wives' tales.
Okay.
One of the theories that is my fucking favorite right now is that we hiccup because we evolved from fish people or aquatic animals, right? Hiccuping often occurs after swallowing too much air or eating or drinking too quickly, or even a response to a series of emotions like anxiety.
Okay.
And all of these feelings cause an increase in the amount of oxygen in the stomach or the size of the stomach itself.
Okay.
So basically, the belief is that hiccuping is a vestigial remnant of our transition from water to land beings when lungs first developed.
Oh.
Lungs became developed in a series of early fish species that had to take advantage of the air above the water while still having gills. So by moving the air over their gills and then forcing their glottis closed, water was prevented from entering the lungs.
Okay.
It is believed that hiccuping is a relic of the transition from gill to lung breathing as these fish species moved to land, similar to those experienced by tadpoles when they transform into frogs. So basically, we're hiccuping because we're like, oh my gosh, there's so much air, we need to get it out. We need to push it through our gills. But we don't fucking have gills. So we can't push it anywhere else except for up through our mouth. And I saw this TikTok that told me about this, and so I had to Google it myself. And in the TikTok, the guy says, the cure to hiccups is just say out loud, I'm not a fish, and you'll stop hiccuping. And I haven't had hiccups since then, but instead of drinking water upside down or being scared, my very first thing to do is say out loud, I am not a fish.
I'm going to try this
see if
now.
it works.
All right, guys, try it.
I hope you all try it.
Let us know if it works for you or if we're just crazy, per usual.
I think it's hilarious. It makes sense to me.
That's an amazing theory. I do really like that. My fun fact is to do with my costume a little bit.
Nice.
While Lewis Carroll never admitted that the Queen of Hearts was inspired by Queen Victoria, Many people believe that she is, one, because of her appearance, two, because of her cruelty and her quick temper, and three, because much like in the movie Alice and the book Alice in Wonderland, the King of Hearts often pardons people behind her back, and Prince Albert was said to do the same. He was nicer of the two. So it is believed that the Queen of Hearts is based off of Queen Victoria.
That's hilarious.
Yeah.
I love that.
Right? And if you look up a picture of Queen Victoria, I kind of see it.
Yeah.
Like from the cartoon.
Ooh, sorry.
Yeah.
She have a big head.
Yeah, she's got a big head and some jowls.
Yeah. That's funny.
Maybe I should have painted on some jowls. I think it's safe to say that we're very much the cuter versions of these evil villains.
I don't know. I think, what's her name has me beat?
Cruella?
Yeah,
Emma Stone's version.
Yes.
Well, Emma
God,
Stone is just awesome. Yeah.
I love her so much.
I was meaning like the original cartoons.
Right. The drawings.
You're not
I tried to give myself the same crazy
old
nose.
lady that's like 8 feet tall.
Yeah.
You did. You succeeded. Your makeup looks great.
Sissy was like, please get out of my room. Your nose is scaring me. I was like, okay. I did it. She's a scary lady.
Just don't kill any Dalmatians in the midst of this episode, okay?
Yeah, I went into Bubba's room and I was like, do you know who I am? And he was like, wait a minute. And I was like, you dogs, get back here. And he was like, oh, okay.
I swear, kids nowadays will never appreciate classic Disney movies the way that we did.
I know.
That and they're kind of terrifying sometimes.
They are a little bit, yeah.
Like, come on, a hookah smoking caterpillar? Who's watching Alice in Wonderland?
Yeah, talk about movies getting you to do things that, you shouldn't at such a young age.
No kidding, right? Who are you? All right, I'm excited. For the
Okay, but
sangria,
before-
not for
yes.
that. Not
We've
for
gotta
murder,
talk
to clarify.
about the sangria. I got a book for my birthday. It is called The Official Gilmore Girls Recipe Book, Cookbook, something
it's
like
from that one? Oh, that's even more exciting.
Yes, this recipe that we're using today is the Founder's Day Punch that is in the book, where there wasn't wine in it. We did move it, or change it a little bit. We added wine where there should have been ginger beer. But other than that, the recipe is spot on. It's not a fruity sangria, it's a juicy sangria. So there's pineapple juice and, what else was there? Pineapple juice. Cranberry juice. Orange juice, and apple cider mixed with the wine,
And cinnamon. Sticks.
And did you add the spiced rum?
I did.
Okay, so I made it first without it because I wanted to taste it just like that. In my TikTok video, there is no spiced rum. I was like, I don't need the extra alcohol. It's no big deal. I just made it normal, and I tasted it, and it was really good. Mm-hmm. And then Jesse saw me making it, and he was like, oh, make me one of those. And so I put the spiced rum in his because he loves Captain Morgan.
Yeah.
Captain Morgan? Yeah,
Sailor
Captain
Jerry's.
Morgan. So I put Captain Morgan in first and then filled it up, and it was so fucking good. I was like, oh my God, I have to put it in. It's so much better with the rum.
Yeah, it complements the cinnamon and the apple really nicely.
It really does.
And weirdly, didn't we do something with cinnamon and pineapple last year too? I think so. Vaguely remember it, and we were surprised at how good it was.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because I had a margarita one time at, I think it was at Tito's. It's a Mexican restaurant that I used to live by, and it was a pineapple margarita with cinnamon sugar rim, and I was like, who would do that? But it was so good. And so I like mixing cinnamon with my pineapple now.
And cinnamon and apple and all of those things are very fall. And we love Gilmore Girls. So if you are also a Gilmore Girls fan and a fan of wine, definitely try this.
Naria.
Yeah. We're calling
you out.
What would you rate this one?
Listen, it's delicious, and it's from my Gilmore Girls cookbook. This is the first time. This is a 10. So fucking
I was going to say! We have our first 10, ladies and gentlemen.
10 out of 10.
There it is. I'm gonna hate myself later when I have to edit that. Just for my nonsense. I love it. I'm definitely giving it a 9.5.
It's great. I made a whole pitcher. It's still in the fridge. It was really hard not to drink it before I had to go pick up my kids from gymnastics. Like, I was like, I just want one so bad. It's so good.
You're like, maybe I shouldn't drink and go and pick up my children.
Yeah, I should probably not drink and drive. I don't do that, I swear. But, God, it's amazing. I love it.
Right? I agree. Well done. Thank you, Stars Hollow, for this one. And Sierra for modifying it.
Yes, and I put, when I do the recipe on TikTok, you'll see the book cover and the author so that you can, give credit where credit is due and also find the book yourself because it's awesome.
Absolutely. Good choice, my friend. And now we got to bring the episode down a notch.
Just a little.
Just a smidgen.
But first, let's hear a quick promo from It's Always the Husband podcast. Okay, so if you haven't listened to part 1, obviously, go listen to part 1. This is part 2 of Clifford Olsen. When Alicia left off last week, Clifford had just claimed his 6th victim, 13-year-old Ada Anita Court. Police were finally starting to connect the crimes as Clifford developed his MO from strangulation to bludgeoning with a hammer, although we will see later that he switches back at one point. All the while, this man is a father and a husband, which, like,
this is the most terrifying thing ever.
I know, but we see it with everybody.
That's the scarier part.
Ted Bundy.
Yeah, that's the scarier part.
How it could be someone you love
raising a child and killing children, sir.
Yeah.
I have questions.
These next victims happen in quick succession. It is possible that he was either getting too cocky or that he was starting to panic and went on a rampage. The tragedy of events is no different, though. Next, we have Simon Partington. On the early morning of July 2nd, 1981, 9-year-old Simon Partington, dressed in blue jeans and a blue t-shirt, hopped on his bike and headed for a friend's house, although he would never arrive there. This was days before Nope, that's not what I meant. This was the days before cell phones and checking in with people as often as we do now. It was a few hours before his family realized he was missing when his bike was found abandoned down the road.
Oh.
He disappeared only a few blocks from where Christine Weller was last seen alive, Clifford's first victim.
Guys, Sierra's dying on us.
I'm sorry.
No, it's okay.
I'm attempting.
What? I'm kind of digging the sultry voice, but I don't want you to be in pain either.
So,
see, when my voice does that, Kevin's like...
Jesse said it was hot, and I was like, okay, maybe I've got this Phoebe sick smelly cat thing going on.
Yeah,
okay?
Smelly cat. Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Now you just got to record your next album. We'll get there, guys.
After Simon was Judy Cosma. Clifford had a young man named Randy Ludlow, 18, that would do odd jobs with him from time to time. On July 9th, 1981, Randy was in the car with him. We have the most information about Clifford's next victim because of Randy's report. And again, this is July 9th, so literally 7 days later.
I know. It's terrifying.
Yeah. Judy Cosma was 16, and she was on her way to Richmond to hang out with a friend and apply for a job at a local Wendy's restaurant. She was brunette, shy, very kind, and looking for a second job to fill the hours she wasn't getting at McDonald's. When the two men came across Judy walking, Clifford waved to her, and she had recognized him because he frequented the McDonald's she worked at.
Gross.
He offered her a ride to Richmond, where they were heading for a job. She was thrilled as this saved her from having to transit.
And as somebody that is now transiting in the Lower Mainland, I feel her. It's brutal.
Aww.
Yeah. I'm going to see our friend Dr. Jules from Riddle Me That podcast on Saturday for lunch. But she lives downtown in Vancouver and doesn't drive. And I currently don't have a car. Spoiler alert, I totaled it. I only mentioned that on Patreon. And so I have to transit downtown to go and see her. So
Yeah.
I am excited, though. And this is also, you know, in case I'm never heard from again, that it's in a public... No, I'm joking. We're both true crime podcasters.
Knock on wood.
Yeah, no, she's a sweetheart. She dresses her dog in sweaters. I don't think that anyone that does that is a monster.
Oh, I wasn't even thinking you meant Jules might do something. I was thinking public
the
transport
SkyTrain.
is scary.
Yeah, it is. And I seem to attract weirdos. Like, I don't know if it's because I look friendly, but they just...
Speaking of fucking weirdos. Dude, I almost had a heart attack at the dollar store the other day.
Oh, God.
It was dark. These dudes were... Really, it was just this one dude. He kept walking past me and clearly walking past me so that he could look at my ass when he walks past. And I kept turning because I knew he was trying to do that.
Yeah.
And he was gross and making gross faces. And when I finally left the dollar store... You know, I had my she-birdie in my hand, like, fucking ready, okay? But...
Twisted 10. Go get yours.
I had it in my hand, and there was a shadow, like you know, it's on a street. A car drove by, made a shadow, but I seriously about had a panic attack.
When you're
I thought
already
he was behind
feeling
me.
nervous,
I
and
ran to
jumpy,
my car, locked the doors. I was like, oh my God, fucking shadows. Ugh.
No, I don't blame you. That's really creepy, and that situation could have been different. So,
yeah,
head on a swivel, guys. Get your she's birdies. Always be aware of creepy men staring at your ass, and don't let them, like Sierra.
They arrived long before when Judy needed to meet her friends and before her interview, so Clifford pulled 2 beers from the back of his truck and offered it to Judy and Randy.
As you do to underage children. That's fine.
Yeah, no. Clifford pulled in at the Richmond Inn to... What is wrong with me? Clifford pulled in at the Richmond Inn to purchase more beer and sent Randy into the store to get it. Oh. When Randy came back out, Judy was now in the passenger seat, so he hopped in the back. He heard Clifford offering her a job with them cleaning windows for $10 an hour. In 1981, minimum wage in BC was around $6. 1981, $10 an hour? That's like...
unheard of.
Yeah. Are you a CEO?
Especially for 16-year-olds. Yeah.
Yeah. Friendly reminder that if something is too good to be true, it probably is. But Judy was desperate, and Clifford preyed on that. Also, she thought she could trust him. You know, it was a regular. Regulars come into her play. You know, I don't know if you've ever worked somewhere, you, Alicia, you listeners, but you get to know regulars and you kind of consider them friends.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I had my spaghetti factory grandparents. They came in every other day and they would sit in my section and introduced me to their kids and like called me their other daughter. And like,
what if you found out they were serial killers?
I mean, there was one guy that came into the restaurant quite often, and it's clear that he was very mentally ill. Quick aside. He would bring in Barbie dolls. And he would, like, talk to them and, like, make us talk to them. I'm not saying he was a serial killer, but he would get angry if we wouldn't talk to his Barbie dolls.
I'm not saying he's a serial killer, but...
but it was the way that he would, like, flip on and off of, like, anger. And I'm like, I would love to sit here and talk to her, but... I mean, I have
real
like
humans to attend to.
12 tables behind me that are glaring at me because I haven't gone and said hi, so I gotta go. And he brought me in a toy truck as a present once. It was very scary. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So, but yes, $10 an hour is more than I started making when I was working part time. And when were we 14? What year was that? Like 2007.
Yeah, something like that. I don't know if I've... Oh, yes, I have. I was about to say, I don't know if I've ever made $10 an hour.
I really hope you have.
Not very often. I think 2 jobs I've made
more
than $10.
Minimum wage here.
Actually, I think it's just 1. At Harley, I made $12 an hour. But before that, the hotel, the restaurants, every place I worked was only 8.
Wild.
8 and 9, yeah.
I mean, it doesn't make it better because the cost of living here is so high. So,
Right.
but things are often too good to be true.
Yes. So Randy told investigators what happened next after Judy had turned up dead on July 25th, 1981. Quote, Olsen stopped off at another liquor store after the three had finished the beers and bought a bottle of rum at the liquor store near the foot of 10th Street. He returned to the car with the rum, Coke, and plastic glasses. Don't say plastic glasses. Come on, they're cups. They're cups. On Olsen's instructions, I mixed drinks for all 3 of us. Olsen encouraged Judy to have another drink, even though she didn't want more. Olsen persisted. Give her another drink, he ordered. Eventually, Judy agreed to take a light one. Olsen told me to mix it. I gave her a glass of Coke with no rum. Aww. I caught Judy's eye and signaled it was only Coke. Judy took a sip and said, "This is really strong," playing along.
Oh.
Olsen looked at me and nodded, indicated I had done well by giving her a stiff drink.
What a pig.
Olsen then gave Judy some tiny green pills, saying, "Here, take these. They'll straighten you out. They keep you from getting drunk."
I know she's underage here, never victim blaming, but those do not exist.
Yeah. She took the pills. Olsen parked in the underground garage at the complex where he lived. We stayed in the car while he went to his apartment. This was the only time I detected any anxiety on her part. She was nervous and upset. I put it down to the fact she was only 15. I put it down to the fact
She's 16,
she was 15 years
so
old.
Wrong, just to clarify, but yeah.
She had been drinking, and she was going to miss her job interview. She was crying, and I wiped the tears from her eyes. Olsen returned shortly, and she seemed to hold herself again. Nope. Olsen returned shortly, and she seemed her old self again. Olsen then dropped me off at the Lougheed Mall. The next time I saw Olsen, he said he dropped her off at her job interview in Richmond. He then went on vacation the next day, taking his wife and child to Knott's Berry Farm in Los Angeles. End quote.
Like you didn't just murder somebody.
Yeah.
I can't.
That's sad and scary.
Very scary.
Randy gave investigators a lot of information, but unfortunately, there was no proof that Clifford Olsen was responsible at this time. However, because of previous suspicions, they did begin to surveil him. Before Judy's body would be found at Weaver Lake, though, Clifford would claim another victim.
No.
Ray King Jr. On July 23rd, 1981, Ray King Jr., 15, went missing. He had been enjoying summer holidays off school, but was looking for a job to save up to buy a car the following year when he turned 16.
Oh, goals.
He made his routine trip to the Canada Manpower Youth Employment Center, chaining his bike behind the building. He had come to the center often, looking for any work they had. He was well-mannered and eager to start anytime. Investigators believe that Clifford had seen Ray that day and had promised him work just as he had Judy. They believe that the two then drove along Highway No. 7 towards Harrison Mills and Weaver Lake. He bludgeoned Ray and dumped his body. His parents knew something was really wrong when they went looking for their son and found his bike still chained up at the employment center.
No.
2 days later, on Saturday, July 25th, 1981, 18-year-old Sigrun Arnd was visiting Canada from Weinheim, Germany.
There you go. You're the German one.
I know, right? She was last seen living a pub in Coquitlam, and then again by a couple on a passing train with a middle-aged man.
Gross.
Her nude and battered body was found in Richmond, partially buried in a trench, approximately 400 yards from where Simon Partington was discovered. Who was already discovered where the first victim was discovered. So, like, clearly Clifford Olsen is, like, has a favorite area.
Come on,
he has
RCMP, get it together.
Yeah, like, fucking post somebody there. Okay? Yeah, right? 24-hour surveillance on that spot.
Right? Better than trying to follow him around all these cities.
Yeah.
Fuck.
When the news reached her family, they were devastated. They had reminded her frequently of how to be safe while traveling. Sigrun had left behind a diary where she raved about her trip and the friendliness of the local Canadians.
But we don't claim Clifford Olsen for the...
Because of this, she had likely let her guard down a little bit. However, we've already discussed the superficial charm that Clifford possessed, much like the other serial killers we have discussed, and I am sure he was able to disarm her the same way he did everybody, really. The same way most serial killers do everybody. Sigrun is a really cool name, by the way.
Yeah.
Love that. On July 27th, 1981, again, 2 fucking days later, Terry Lynn Carson vanished from the same housing complex in Surrey that Christine Weller went missing from, one of his other victims.
So again, station ourselves in that neighborhood and at the dumping site.
Seriously. She was a petite girl, around 5 feet and just over 100 pounds. She had been looking for a summer job, and investigators believe that Clifford must have offered her a job, and that is how he was able to get her into his vehicle, much like he did with the previous victims.
I hate this. Like, what year was John Wayne Gacy? Like, this is exactly what John Wayne 80s, Gacy did. Yeah. He offered jobs. Like, I hate it.
Yeah. Clifford would have driven with her for a few hours to a remote area in Rosedale, Agassiz. He went back to his old method of murder and strangled Terry Lynn. He then burned her clothes and tossed her purse and shoes into the Fraser River.
And the Fraser River is huge. Like, huge. It's one of the biggest rivers in Canada. And it's amazing that her items were even ever turned up, because in some areas the current is so strong that, like, things just get, like, sucked right down to the bottom. So
yeah,
I think that this is like fate's way of being like, I was here. Like,
3 days later, on July 30th, 1981, Louise Chartrand, 17, went missing. She was, quote, very tiny and young looking for her age. So he probably thought she was even younger.
Yeah, and I'll say, we will post photos of course, everybody on our social medias and websites, but she does look very, very young.
Especially compared to today's 17-year-olds who look like they're 25. Yeah.
I wasn't allowed to wear makeup until I was 14. Like, come on.
Right. She was the youngest of 7 children and had moved from Quebec with 3 of her sisters. They moved to a home together in Maple Ridge. In reconstructing the events, the police believe that Louise hitchhiked part of the way to her night shift as a waitress and was picked up by a non-murderous man. After she was dropped off, she headed to a store to buy cigarettes. The store was only a 10-minute walk from the restaurant where she worked. During this very small window, investigators believe Clifford got her into his car, drugged her, and headed to Whistler.
10 minutes. That's so scary.
Whistler is a 2.5-hour drive in the opposite direction of where he had taken his victims previously. So now he's like, maybe the police are smart enough to track down those other locations. I don't think they were, but, you know.
And, like, the stupid part to me is like, Agassiz is more remote. Like, you do a lot of camping up there. There's a lot of cabins up there. Whistler is, like, a ski resort town. So it's like, you would have more of a chance. I don't know. This is where I think he was more rampagey on, like, a psychological standpoint of why he's killing in such quick succession. Like, I think he's just trying to do what he can before he gets caught, because he knows that
Yeah, but also a lot of,
serial
I don't know.
killers.
Yes, but also just people in general are like, you know, they would never check such an open or such an obvious location.
True.
You know what I mean?
True.
So, I don't know.
Maybe he's like...
Maybe start checking open, obvious locations, police.
Right? I'm reading a book about a serial killer right now that we may be covering, and something exactly like that. A very obvious location where people are busy doing other stuff, where it's...
Right.
You can distract, and people are just doing their own thing.
Clifford drove to a gravel pit north of the ski resort and hit her in the head with a hammer, burying her in a shallow grave. Louise's fellow employees at the restaurant checked with her sisters when she did not show up for her 8 p.m. shift. One of Louise's sisters telephoned the RCMP detachment the next morning after she realized that she was not just out being a 17-year-old. Officers trailing Olsen arrested him a few days later while driving a rented car near Port Alberni on Vancouver Island. He was arrested by the RCMP for an alleged driving offense.
The Royal County Mounted Police.
Driving offense, probably like, you rolled through a stop sign or you forgot to use your blinker. You know, one of those things that police are like, I know I'm pulling him over because he's a fucking serial killer, but I have to say something.
Yeah, you gotta have a reason.
Yeah. He had 2 young girls in the back of his car that he had picked up hitchhiking.
Great.
Those girls were unharmed, thank fucking God.
Yeah.
But a search of his vehicle turned up an address book containing the name of Judy Cosma.
No! Well, yes, I'm glad, but I'm still sad about Judy.
Right. Also, we made the joke about him being Ted Bundy before Ted Bundy was Ted Bundy in part 1. Traffic violation.
Come on, bro.
Same thing.
This is it. They're idiots. They think
Yeah,
that
they
they're
really are.
smarter than police. They think that
Fucking
they're
drive
smarter
perfect or else, you idiots.
Especially when you have children in your car that aren't your children.
Yeah.
Fucking so gross. But he always, like, there was warning signs in part 1. He was in his 20s and he had that 16-year-old girlfriend. Like,
Yeah.
sir,
Gross.
not a good look.
Don't do that. Age is not just the number, okay?
Oh, okay. Sorry, we have
When
one
minors
more
are
quick
involved.
aside here. I watched a deep dive YouTube documentary on Hillary Duff today.
Uh-huh.
Because we were talking about Hillary Duff in your episode.
Uh-huh.
And I wanted a little bit of nostalgia. Love Good Charlotte still. I'm going to put this preface out there because that is one of my favorite bands. But I remember when she started dating Joel Madden in 2005. And she was 16 and he was 25. And I remember being excited about it because I was a big Good Charlotte fan and a Hillary Duff fan. So I was like, ooh, what the fuck? That's gross. Like, that's so gross. Yeah. So, yeah, not cool.
Not cool at all.
No.
I do feel a little bit more bad. Not bad. A little bit more, I don't know if understanding is the right word either. When it's someone who is so famous, I don't know if Joe Madden qualifies. But
I don't
when it's
think
someone
then. I would argue that then Hillary Duff was more famous than Good Charlotte.
Well, I'm saying that when the older person is so famous that they didn't get to be a child.
True.
Them acting like a child makes more sense.
Hillary Duff even
like
says
trying
that
to
in an
relive his
interview.
youth.
She was like I'm like mentally a lot older and sometimes he can be
Yeah.
quite childish. Like, so we kind of balance each other out. And I'm like, no.
Yeah, no, it's still wrong.
It's still
but like when
a predatory
especially when
situation.
it's especially when it's like child actors though.
Yeah.
That are like
absolutely.
They've never been a teenager. They just want to be a teenager, you know?
100%. Yeah, Joel Madden got bumped off my list today
Yeah.
when I realized that. So
Yeah.
Jake
that's
Gyllenhaal's
yuck.
not far. He's in his 40s and dates 20-year-olds. He's not far
19.
from being bumped off my list. Ew.
Only 19. Yeah.
Much like Leonardo DiCaprio. Why are all the good ones gross?
Yeah.
Ugh. Anyways, not cool is the point to this, guys.
So, after the police found the address book with Judy Cosma's name in Clifford Olsen's vehicle, he was finally arrested for good, and his killing spree was over.
Be prepared to rage, Sierra.
But not all of his victims had been found at this point in time. Despite police surveillances on him prior to his arrest, they were never able to find all of the bodies of the children he had murdered. He drove thousands of miles around British Columbia in rental cars, and even through areas and even though areas were searched near where these children went missing, there was no way to know for certain where they were taken.
Yeah, because you would drive for hours.
Which reminds me a lot of, I don't even want to remember his name right now. Ooh.
I'm trying to get inside your brain.
I'm sorry. Israel Keys.
Yes.
I like to hide those folders, like, way deep in my brain.
We do.
I had to search for a minute.
I now understand why our pals at Crimes and Closets only do Serial Killer September. I mean, yeah. I'm upset that they do serial killers on our birthday month. Don't get me wrong. If Christy and Beth are listening, rude. Like, pick another month. But,
rude.
But I get it. Like, it's hard. It's so hard to wrap your brain around killing this many people. And it just being like a normal Tuesday afternoon for you.
Yeah. Yeah, that's why we rotate too.
Yeah, exactly.
I hate it.
We gotta get out of here.
Yuck, people. Before Clifford pleaded guilty during the trial in February of 1982, he struck a deal with police to help locate the missing victims. The deal was $10,000 per victim to be paid to his wife, Joan. To be clear, this is for the bodies being returned to the families, but he made the deal including those that were already found. But that his 11th victim would be a freebie.
Fuck you, dude. Seriously? Ugh.
Oh, man, I have so many issues with this. The investigators felt their hands were tied, feeling that it would be better to bring the families closure. But instead, the deal angered many of the victims' families. And can't blame them. But like, here's the thing. I have so many feelings about this because his wife is innocent in this, you know?
Yeah.
So at one point, I'm like, you know, leave her with something.
Yeah, like her reputation is destroyed. It may be very difficult for her to get a job because of her having been married to him.
Yeah, but he didn't have
child's like, yeah, there's a lot of factors. I get it.
He didn't have to frame it this way.
No.
Like, everybody I give you is $10,000 to pay to my wife. No, he could have been like, first I need to make sure my wife is taken care of.
Yeah.
Put her in witness protection program or something.
Yeah.
You know? Like, ugh. It's so gross.
Help her change her name. Make sure that she...
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And...
Yuck.
Yeah, it's problematic. And
it is.
He's
it
the
really
only
is.
serial killer, I think, in Canada and the U.S. this has ever happened. So...
Yeah, I've never heard of anyone else doing anything like this.
Wrong.
Gross.
I hate him.
Clifford Olsen was sentenced to 25 years to life in prison. He spent 23 hours a day in his cell.
Good.
He made many attempts to be transferred from Kingston Penitentiary in Saskatchewan and was finally able to get a trip back to Vancouver after lying to police about unsolved crimes back there that he was ready to fess up to.
I hate him.
Yeah. He really just wanted to be closer to home and where all of his crimes took place because he's fucking gross.
Mm-hmm.
Throughout his prison sentence, Clifford was kept as far away from other inmates as possible because, you know, prison justice would happen. He wrote pornographic memoirs of his crimes while in his cell and would write heinous letters to victims' families, which is crazy to me because I don't know about in Canada, but at least in America, before any letters get sent out, the guards read them.
I don't know. I know that now that that's the case. I don't
Probably
know
because
if
people like him.
1981
Yeah.
that was the case, because we don't have the freedom of speech thing, which is why you guys have that.
Yeah, well, inmates don't have the same freedoms as
Oh,
civilized.
okay.
I don't know, what's the word? As not inmates?
As
If you have a felony,
non-murderous people.
well, not even murderers. If you are a felon, if there is a felony on your record, you do not have the same rights as other people. Like, you're not even allowed to vote if you're a felon.
Really?
Yeah. Well, I think that might have changed. I think Obama might have changed that. Maybe. I don't remember. But
Our
for a long time,
80%
yeah.
of listeners that are American, let us know.
Ooh, history is not my favorite, especially political history.
Political history is not my favorite either, but I do know that that is the case now, where everything is screened before going out.
Yeah. Yeah, things are screened here too. Yeah, it's a fine line of
Putting myself
freedom
in a
of
timeout
speech
over
and
here.
fucking assholes.
I'm so mad.
Anyway, these heinous letters to the victims' families were usually threatening and contained details of what he did to their children.
Oh my god, didn't Albert Fish do that too?
I think so.
Yeah, he wrote like the little girl's mom. Oh my god.
Yeah. Yeah, it was only after all of this was reported that his mail started to be screened. After serving 15 years in prison, Clifford Olsen applied for an early parole hearing.
No.
Appearing in Surrey courtroom in August of 1997.
No, sir.
And for 4 days, the court heard victim statements from the families. Like, please don't fucking let him out. And it only took 15 minutes for them to deny his request.
4 days of stories, 15 minutes of no.
Yeah. Yeah.
Not for you, sir. The outside world is not for you.
The only reason that he was given the appeal in the first place is because in those days he had the right under Section 745 of the Criminal Code, the so-called faint hope clause. This clause dates back to 1976 when Parliament took away the death penalty and added a parole hearing for inmates that had served 15 years of a sentence.
What the fuck?
Because Canada is so sweet. They're just so nice, all of them.
Again, we don't claim Clifford Olsen.
The clause was seen as an incentive for good behavior, making it possible for prisoners to apply for parole before they served their 25 years. However, the brutal nature of Clifford Olsen's crimes and the way that he treated the families of his victims after the fact caused a scene, and why would anybody let him out? The families actually rallied for a campaign to have this law abolished, claiming the insensitivity to the families of violent crime.
Makes sense. Yeah. Keep reliving it.
Yeah. This is why it's so crazy to me, because in cases like this, it makes sense. Mm-hmm. In cases like
your grandpa,
Centoya Brown, it doesn't.
No, yeah, true. And I was going to say, we just talked about that with your grandfather's case.
Yeah, that one too. Yeah. But to the families, it brought up pain.
Everything needs to be considered. I don't think that there needs to be a blanket law. I think that every case needs to be looked at.
I agree. All situations are different.
Somebody that's tried to escape prison like 1,000 times and killed 11 children? No, don't let them out.
Yeah, well, luckily for the families, the law was eventually amended to exclude serial killers. Which, I get that. You've had too many chances to not be a terrible person and you just kept killing.
Which makes sense, because Robert Pickton, his next appeal is at 25 years. So, which is coming up in 2 years, which is actually really fucking terrifying. Right.
Because in Canada, after 25 years, all convicted killers have the right to apply for parole. Not just if they had good behavior in the 15 years.
And I hate that, because both of these killers happened, like, in my bubble.
I like it, though. I like the 25-year one. Again, I feel like if it's a serial killer, they're going to get denied anyway, but I like it in the case of others.
Yes.
So,
there are gray areas.
Speaking of, How have we not talked about yet how fucking Adnan Syed is out of prison?
Yes, we haven't talked about this on the podcast yet. I know, this is such good news. I did share it on all of our stuffs, but yeah, we haven't actually talked about it on the podcast because that was one of your big, like...
So happy. Oh my God. I am so happy, but I said this on one of the podcast groups that I'm in. It saddens me because things like this happen so often. People get out after they've been put in because they're found either not guilty or they're acquitted or like they need a retrial, whatever. This happens so often. And yet nothing is being fixed.
You literally said those exact words when we did the one with all the bodies with Tennis podcast. Because
really?
the murder of
Heyman Lee.
Yeah, was my example of that.
Right. Yeah, it's people keep getting out, yay, but how come nothing is being fixed? Like, these people are out now. We know they didn't do anything wrong.
But he's lost a decade of his life.
Exactly. And it's gonna happen again because our justice system is not changing. Clearly it's not perfect if this keeps happening. Why aren't we changing it?
And do you think that they're just going to drop her case?
Yes, they're definitely going to drop her case. There's no way any of those police would ever try him again because they would all be like ambushed by the media and by the public. It's so clear
she gets no
that
justice. Like, it's just, it sucks. It's bullshit.
Yeah, I know.
All of it's bullshit.
But it's so clear that there was not enough evidence to convict him.
No.
And finally in 2022, when racial injustices are being brought up, like, he's out. And that's what it was. He's Muslim. It was fucking racial profiling. Like, he was only arrested because he's Muslim.
Yep. And then we see it with other communities where it's like a checkbox, like, oh, well, it fits the story that I'm trying to tell, so I'm going to make it work. It's a combination of those two things, and it's wrong, and it needs to stop.
Yeah, thankfully, he'll be free for the rest of his life. Unfortunately, he went to prison when he was 17, and he's now 42.
What?
He's fucking 42.
Oh, that's heartbreaking. He never got to have a family, get married.
Yeah.
Start a career.
So fucked up.
Well, I'm very happy. The video made me, like, I bawled my eyes.
Right.
Okay, but Clifford Olsen is not one of those people, guys.
No. But he did try again to get parole after the 25 years.
Of course he did. Gotta shoot your shot. Of course
he did. Obviously, again, they were like, no.
Yeah.
These victims are sad.
Bye.
In this case, the hearing was suspended before the jury even made their decision because of an outbreak in court.
Oh, because
they were going to say no. But Clifford was reported as saying, "I will be staying in my cell. I won't be coming back to hear your quote-unquote retarded decision."
Yeah, she's saying that because that's an offensive thing to say.
Yeah.
Not to mention childish. Like, okay, sir.
This was in 2008, by the way. In 2010, he boasted to Worthington that he had been receiving old age security payments since he turned 65, which was 5 years prior to this. And this caused another media uproar. The news angered the public, feeling as though he should not be entitled to this after what he did. The government of Canada would eventually pass legislation to end pension payments to some federal prisoners. That act became law at the beginning of 2011.
Well, good. It's like you haven't fucking worked for the last 25 years for a pension anyway.
Yeah.
Why are you getting it? Like,
yeah, that's another thing that, like, maybe to his wife, definitely not to him.
Yeah. But she's good for a little while.
Yeah. In November of 2010, Clifford had another parole hearing and was turned down. This time, they didn't even... No. Fucking no, Clifford. Families of his victims had been calling for changes to the laws so that families don't have to go through this grief and aggravation again and again. That was a quote from one of the families. The federal government agreed with their pleas and once again had legislation before Parliament to change the law, reducing the number of times in which a prisoner in Canada can apply for parole. Both his father and his mother remained supportive until they died in 1988 and 1989, respectively. His sister and 2 brothers said they cut off all contact with him in 1989 after the mother died. Joan divorced him and moved away with their son.
Good.
And Clifford Olsen was left completely alone.
Good.
Yep. In 2011, he was transported to a hospital in Laval, Quebec, after being diagnosed with terminal cancer.
Bye.
He was given 1 month to live, and he died on September 30th when he was 71 years old.
Hey!
The anniversary of that is tomorrow as we're recording this.
Bye.
Bye. I was going to say F you, Clifford Olsen. Also F you, Clifford Olsen, but please don't haunt me. But goodbye. Okay,
yeah, right. We're
goodbye.
very close to that.
Yeah.
Yeah. But absolutely goodbye. Yeah. And I'm glad he was alone because fuck you.
Yeah.
Sir, you don't deserve to be surrounded by warmth when you're such a cold-hearted asshole.
He got exactly what he deserved.
I also included only photos in our notes of the children of whose lives he took. He looks like a bridge troll. I just needed to throw further salt into that wound, but Sierra doesn't know what he looks like, so.
What a story. Clifford Olsen. Yuck. Any last things to say before I tell you what day it is?
No. Just stay safe, all of you. We love you.
Yeah.
Especially because it's spooky season and people are out and, their guards are dropped a little bit. Just
yeah.
Head on a swivel, guys.
Definitely.
Be safe.
Well, today is October 11th. And on this day, we say happy birthday to both Eleanor Roosevelt and Cardi B. But also,
2 queens.
On this day, in 1922, the very first woman FBI special investigator was appointed.
Yeah.
Her name, Alaska Davidson.
Oh, that is a badass name.
Right?
I love that.
So it's October 11th, a super random fucking day. But we are celebrating women today.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And every day.
Yeah. Just kind of like a genre of the podcast, but
yes,
absolutely.
Yes.
That's super cool. I love that. Thank you guys again so much for listening. And go leave a 5-star rating and review. It is the best way that you can help us. Tell your friends and family about us. We really appreciate it.
Cure your hiccups by saying you're not a fish.
I was literally just about to say those words. Let us know if that works for you. And tag us in your Halloween post. Show us what you guys are up to this month.
Yes.
That's lots of fun. And stay tuned for next week. We restart our categories all over again. So we've got a bunch of stories for you. And we love you guys. And we'll see you next week for a brand new episode. And in the meantime, keep it twisted. Thank you for listening to Twisted and Uncorked Podcast. Remember to leave a 5-star rating and review wherever you are listening now. It really is the best way to spread the word. You can also check out all of our sources and materials, as well as photos for the episode, on our website at twistedanduncorked.com. And you can follow us on social media at Twisted and Uncorked or Twisted_pod on Twitter. Thank you so much for all of your love and support, and we will see you next Tuesday for a brand new episode. Cheers!